And I think one last thing that I tell early career researchers in particular, if you find yourself in a culture, in the organizational culture that doesn't support your mental well-being, it says more about the character of that company or organization than it does about you. Be confident when you feel it's time to remove yourself from an unhealthy situation. It's okay to prioritize yourself.
Hello and welcome to today's episode of Insights XChange, where we delve into the minds and experiences of leaders shaping the world of scholarly publishing. I'm your host, Nikesh Gosalia, and today we have a remarkable guest with us, Randy Townsend. Randy is currently the president of the Society for Scholarly Publishing, more famously known as SSP, and his impressive career spans leadership roles within the Council of Science Editors and AM&P Networks Association Council. He has also made significant contributions as the co-chair of DEIA committees for both AM&P Network and SSP, actively supporting C4Disc and helping develop many of their freely available resources. At Origin Editorial, Randy is known for his innovative approaches to peer review strategies, ensuring the integrity and quality of scholarly publications. He was the inaugural editor-in-chief for the GW Journal of Ethics in Publishing and is an associate professor of the MPS in Publishing program in the College of Professional Studies at George Washington University. He's passionate about advocating for mental health and the well-being of people in academia. Join us as we explore Randy's insights, experiences, and contributions to the evolving landscape of scholarly publishing, with a special focus on mental health and well-being in academia. Without further ado, let's welcome Randy to the show. Hi, Randy.
Hi, Nikesh. Thank you for having me.
No, thank you so much for making time. I know it's a busy period just before one of the biggest conferences in our industry, so really appreciate it.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Brilliant. So let's start, Randy, as someone who's deeply involved in scholarly publishing, how do you perceive the current landscape of mental health and well-being among researchers and academics? What are some of the key changes that you've seen since you first began your journey in scholarly publishing?
I think we're in a unique time where there's just an extraordinary convergence of circumstances that impact the mental health of our community researchers and academics. Those obvious being the COVID-19 pandemic, which gave us all like emotional whiplash. Just 4 years ago, really, we were observing friends and loved ones falling ill and clinging to life, and so many perishing. It really changed the way in which we work and we live and do our business. But in addition, we've seen international conflicts impacting our global research community. We've seen the impacts of climate change. The political climate has been more ferocious and lowbrow than ever. We're seeing DEI initiatives that are being eliminated. Practitioners of discrimination seem to be more empowered than ever. The cost of living is skyrocketing and research funding is unstable. There's just a lot of pressure on our researchers, both directly and indirectly, whether it's impacting you or someone that you love or connected to. There's pressure to do more faster with less resources and reduced budgets, so how are we not burning out? Where do we even get started in all of this?
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you, Randy, and not exactly a researcher, but I'm currently pursuing a management course myself, and I just find it so difficult pursuing that course and giving it my best, plus the workload, and then you have your personal life as well. I mean, it's okay if it's, a couple of weeks, but if that goes on for a few months, I've seen that's really impacting my mental health, well-being. I've not been able to take a proper break. There have been some other, avenues where some of that frustrations come out. And so I completely hear you, Randy. I think there is just so much happening currently, which is very different from, what we've seen maybe a few years back as well.
Yeah. I mean, I just remember, when I used to commute into work, and there was a time period where, I'm on the commuter bus and I'm listening to a podcast or music, and then I get to work and, I'm ready to work then. And then as I'm going home, I'm decompressing. I'm listening to a podcast or music, but I'm leaving work behind and preparing to transition into that home life. And now working from home, everything is on top of each other. There is no time to decompress. There's no time to prepare. I'm like walking out of my bedroom into my office and hopping right into work. And, that space that, I used to take advantage of personally is, I have to find creative ways to make sure that I do actually stand up and walk around and get some fresh air, or I'll really just be here. And, working long hours from sun up to sundown which just isn't the way we're designed to be.
Absolutely. No, I fully agree with you. So thank you for sharing your perspective on that, Randy. Moving on, we've obviously spoken a lot about DEAI, diversity, equity, accessibility, inclusion. But just from your perspective, how do you think the issue of DEAI intersects with mental health and well-being in academia?
Yeah, that's such an important question, Nikesh. There's always been an additional psychological and emotional burden placed on the global majority. And I'm proud that we've been capturing these considerations in the Scholarly Kitchen's Mental Health Awareness Mondays posts. Because there's been such great conversation there, I'd like to just point out a few of the posts that spoke specifically to this issue. Maribel Gomez described racial battle fatigue, and that's the compounded result of stress responses related to race triggered by malicious mental and emotional conditions. And it amplifies the mental, emotional, and physical strain on people of color and has long-term health effects that significantly impact a person's self-worth and confidence. Another post by Juanita Goossens Roach described how to bring your whole self to your professional settings with disability and neurodivergence. And then Deandra Roberts discussed the impact of stereotypes on mental well-being. So although these were published in the Scholarly Kitchen, I've actually received overwhelming amount of positive feedback from outside of scholarly publishing, which demonstrates these concerns and issues aren't native or only exist in the publishing industry. They're, you look at different industries and these things still apply very much so. Imagine going into your workplace or your research lab and being the only one of you, and you're not welcome, and you experience the microaggressions each day, or you're not invited to the group lunch or included in the jokes. Everyone's laughing, but, you're not included. You don't know what they're laughing about, or maybe they get quiet when you walk by. Or maybe it's not a microaggression. Maybe it's something just more blatant, and the leadership says absolutely nothing. They watch things happen and don't say anything. When the people in power fail to correct bad behavior, it justifies that behavior. It says this is the culture. And those unsettling scenarios are too true for too many people. And I've been that person that's waiting desperately for someone of authority or leadership to speak up and correct bad behavior or come to my defense. And, when that doesn't happen, like everything else becomes heavier. Like the challenge that you had for regular work, you have to get through this other thing first. And no one else has that problem if, they're not the recipient or the target of that bad behavior.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I hear you, Randy. And I think maybe, fortunate enough when I first moved to the UK and when I first started to attend a lot of scholarly publishing conferences, most folks have just been so welcoming and, made me feel a part of that community because of the foundation that we started to create around inclusivity, embracing diversity. And now, 11 years on, I feel like an integral part of this family. And SSPs, maybe about 6 or 7 years back used to be a stress point for me. Can I go and talk to folks? Will people judge me? But it's no longer the case, Randy. I'm looking forward to just meeting people. At the end of the day, they are people, friends, colleagues, peers, even competitors for that matter. But I hear you, Randy, because I've seen that with a lot of folks within and outside the industry. And so, again, from your experience, what are some of the practical steps that organizations can take to ensure that mental health and well-being considerations are integrated into their real efforts? It's not something where, we just create a charter or we do maybe, just a conversation from time to time, but it's pretty much part of everyday life.
Yeah, I had that same experience, at SSP. And, I've been the beneficiary of some really great leaders and mentors that welcomed me. And when they welcomed me, it made it okay for others to welcome me, whether they were, they didn't want to welcome me at first, which I don't really think was the case, but they were unsure how to welcome me. But they really set a good tone that, it definitely alleviated some of the things that I was considering. Like, you walk in, it's just you. You're like, oh my goodness, where's someone else that looks like me in this room? And it's like, you know what? I'm it. I'm the sole representative of anyone that looks like me in this industry. So, having that good leadership is really, really important and, sets the tone. Some practical steps I think that a lot of organizations can adapt. I think it starts with clarifying the expectations and limitations. You can't do everything. You can't address everything all at once, especially if you're starting from scratch. And this is, a change that you want to make in your organization. So what are the specific goals you're hoping to accomplish, and what does success look like? Being really specific about what it is and what it isn't. When we started having discussions around mental health at SSP, it was so important for me to let the members know, I'm not a therapist. So please don't come to me and hope that I can solve, whatever the thing is that you're experiencing. I can't do that. I can advise you, but I'm not the professional to come to. So really want to clarify what our guardrails were. And I think organizations need to be clear with their members and their staff about, what an activity or initiative is intended to do. Going beyond that, establishing and maintaining trust. Like, your people aren't going to talk to you if they don't trust that you'll handle those conversations with care. They're being vulnerable, but they'll only be vulnerable if they know that you're going to respect those conversations and really be sincere and provide support. Find out from your members what they need. Too often we talk in a bubble. The leader may be in a room and, I think they need this, this, and this, and, here's the plan. And the people that really need something aren't even included in the conversation. So, make sure that your activities are collaborative and transparent. Depending on the organization, make sure your HR is trained to support the staff, and then train the leadership to be empathetic and compassionate. Because going back to, my example of SSP and, having that authentic, compassionate, sincere, and genuine leadership that really set the pace and demonstrated not just today what it's going to look like, but going forward, this is how we're going to welcome a Randy or people like Randy or, others that aren't here yet. But when they come in, we're going to embrace them as well.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing those, Randy. I think those are really useful tips. Moving on, no conversation these days is complete without talking about technology. And, I'm really looking forward to meeting you and so many others at SSP. And I'm sure, that's going to be one of the conversations. But from your perspective, what role do you see technology, or specifically AI, playing in, again, addressing mental health concerns within academia?
That's a big conversation. You're right. It's still, I feel like we're still in the salad days of the conversation. We're still early on, even though we've been talking about it, preparing for a number of years. I really think that it unlocks our potential. Like, there's apps that help us manage stress and burnout, and, there are tools for early detection and screening. I know a lot of adults that weren't aware that they had autism until they were adults. So imagine the opportunity of being taught at an early age how to leverage your learning so that you're not going through life feeling other or left out. Imagine the power of that self-knowledge and self-awareness. understanding what you need to be successful, getting support that you need that's delivered in a way that's meaningful for you, and being able to deliver that support. If you're a leader, delivering that support in a meaningful way. I think that we just have to keep asking the uncomfortable questions and, going to the technology and going to the AI and going to the potential and say, this is something that, we're experiencing. How can technology alleviate the burdens caused by this thing?
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think, again, extremely valid point, Randy. I hear you say, and I can pretty much confirm and agree to that we have to embrace and accept the change, not build up stress contradictory for ourselves. We have to obviously be conscious of balancing everything, because there's just so much happening. Every day the space is evolving. There are thousands of apps, and you want to do some of the other basic things in life as well. But I agree with you. I mean, I think it starts with accepting and embracing the change, and then pretty much deciding how to use it, for your advantage.
Mm-hmm.
Similarly, Randy, one of the most talked about area of work within our industry has been peer review. And I think with all the research integrity issues happening, fraudulent practices that are happening, it's just thrown more light on, pretty much going back to the basics. Research integrity, ethics, the foundation of peer review is extremely important. How can peer review strategies, again, be adapted and improved to consider and support the mental health of, both the authors, editorial teams, reviewers, in your opinion?
I guess my answer will sound a little contradictory to the previous one about embracing and adapting the technologies, because you can't lose. I always want to center these discussions around the people that are involved, and where the technology and AI is an important tool, it's still important to have engagement with the people that are doing the work. And, I realize that we're all trying to hold it together along our own unique journeys, but engagement and compassion and understanding, those are still very, very much fundamental. And with the context of peer review being generally a volunteer exercise, the reality is that our reviewers, in most cases, are really participating for altruistic reasons, like a sense of duty and responsibility. I don't think they'll ever pay off their mortgages with any incentives that we're offering them to review. And they're also juggling priorities. Think about the new mother that may be experiencing postpartum depression, but she still wants to review. Do we continue to send these automated messages saying your deadline is coming due, and there's a third reminder, and now you're late, and we'll never likely know that they're experiencing postpartum depression, but it's so common, and then this is just one example of what people are experiencing. So always think about the ways to make participation easy. You want to take the burden off of them. Think about how we can improve the processes for authors. We're adding more requirements, and whether it's for open data or indicate how much AI was used in their submission, we don't remove anything. We're adding more things to protect the integrity of the research and avoid the paper mills and the peer review rings, and, on and on. But, we should always be asking, how can we make things easier for the people participating? How can we be a little bit more understanding and go back to that leadership, that compassion, that leniency, that grace? Because you don't know, why a person may be late with their review or, with their submission. So working with them, engagement, find out how can we better support your activity? How can we support your peer review experience? And, after the review, how did we do? What did we get wrong? What would you have liked to have seen? What could have made your experience more rewarding? I think that engagement is so critical. We can't lose sight of that.
Absolutely. No, I fully agree with you, Randy. And just on that note, a very quick question. Do you think the issue is more in terms of that we just don't have time because there's just so much to do? Or is it also potentially lack of enough effort or, your intent being converted into real action? Is it a combination of both, perhaps?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of both. And there's pressure. We're feeling the pressure. And, maybe that pressure comes from Randy being in this chair, from sunrise to sundown, right? Like, I have to do more, I have to do more, I have to do more. But, we want to make sure that where the data shows reduced timeliness, right? Like, wow, we cut down our time to review, by 7 days. That's fantastic. Those numbers are amazing. And we want to be able to sell those stories. But if it's at the expense of losing the people that are committed to supporting our enterprise, then it's counteractive to the bigger picture, where we're doing more damage to our industry than we are, building it up for a quick, number in the quarterly reports.
Absolutely. Agree with you. I think it's just become a way of thinking, a habit of, just even if you've done 10 things, why have I not done 15?
Yeah.
And that just kind of, builds up over a period of time. The academic community, and I think this pretty much perhaps holds true for even going beyond this particular community, Randy. How can the community break the stigma around mental health issues, particularly in cultures where seeking help might be seen as a sign of weakness? A lot of folks, including me at one point of time, I used to worry so much about fear of being judged. And, what if I say something which I am not supposed to? I spent 6 years in this industry, so, how can I ask a very basic question? So, how can the community come together and help to break the stigma?
Yeah, so, I guess similar to you, I always have I call it the foot in the mouth syndrome, right? I say the wrong things. I may say the wrong things, but with the right intent. I think if you're going to have those difficult conversations, then you have to go in there prepared to say the wrong things. Not, I'm going to go in and say the wrong things because that's not, the purpose, but you have to kind of work through that tension to find the right chord that resonates with people. I think that we have a duty to reframe the narrative. I think that's the key when we're talking about breaking the stigma. I was watching this interview from actress Kerry Washington. She was the star of this TV show Scandal, and she's been in a couple other things. But she said that therapy is a gift that she gives herself. And as she grows and evolves, she values the sessions where she has an opportunity to honor that growth and understand the evolution. And that was really, really powerful because I've never heard it captured that way. Why would we not try to honor our growth? We're creating internal dissonance when we want to hide parts of ourselves, and that amplifies the stressors and can deepen the emotional and psychological challenges that we're facing. If we're truly going to be adaptable, there should be no shame in supporting our mental fitness. We should really, really be celebrating it. And I think, any opportunity that we have to change that narrative as an industry or as a community, we'll be better off for it.
Absolutely. I know you spoke a little bit about some of the initiatives and also some of these Scholarly Kitchen articles, Randy, but what specific initiatives or resources have you encountered that have been particularly effective in promoting mental health awareness and support within academic and publishing communities? And, kind of a follow-up question to that, I know that you have also recently initiated the Mental Health Awareness series on the Scholarly Kitchen blog. So maybe you can talk a little bit about that as well. And, what is the aim? What do you hope to achieve through it?
Yeah, there's two questions in there, and they're big questions. So I'll start with the, I guess, the really non-committal answer of it depends. Because mental health is so broad, there are really great sources available for very specific challenges. I've experienced personal loss, and I found resources that help me navigate through that very specific, set of circumstances. I'm a survivor of PTSD, and there are resources that have helped me navigate and understand, what it means to live with PTSD and how, tips on how to respond or how to prepare myself for different settings. So, depending on what the challenges are, I think you just have to explore those particular resources. I'm an associate professor at George Washington University. I know that there are a number of programs and activities to support the mental well-being, particularly for students. I see a lot of activities, and that's great because, I'm keenly aware of what they're exposed to and how they're trying to navigate these things. One of the first organizations that approached me when I said I wanted to give more visibility to mental health awareness, it was the American Psychiatric Association, and they're an organizational member of SSP. So for them to come forward immediately after I made that statement or declaration, it was powerful because it showed, that I wasn't out. I felt like I was out on a limb because we don't talk about this in scholarly publishing, but it really showed right away that I'm not out on a limb. The community is invested in this and they're passionate about this. They have something called the Center for Workplace Mental Health, which provides employers tools and information that promotes the mental health of employees and their families. And if you have questions about how to support your team or your team members, it's a great resource I'd encourage viewers to tune into. In terms of the Scholarly Kitchen posts, first, I just really want to acknowledge the really, really brilliant work of the Mental Health Task Force and the support of the Scholarly Kitchen chefs. This was an opportunity for us to speak to the community and clarify what our plans and goals are and give shape to that. Also, again, to clarify what our limitations are. People, again, don't come to Randy for a therapy session because I'm not qualified. Right away, this is what I'm here for or I'm able to do. But I'm hoping to use this as an example of how we normalize these discussions and really remind people that they aren't the only ones experiencing a mental health challenge. The original goal for Mental Health Awareness Mondays in particular, well, first, Mental Health Awareness Mondays was intended to have a post per month around mental health awareness. But when we were approaching November and the holidays, I thought a lot about how the holidays bring depression to a lot of people. And I wanted them to be reminded they're not alone and have that support. We have these conversations. So we were able to have a mental health awareness month each Monday for the month of November leading into the holidays. And we're doing it right now for Mental Health Awareness Month for the month of May. But the intent is to equip the managers and leaders with tools that can better support the professionals that they're responsible for. We have a lot of really important industry challenges, from the ethical threats to funding mandates. And I want us to know how to recharge our batteries and how to strengthen our resolve and how to have compassion, show compassion for one another, and how to prepare for whatever the day may bring. Those are the things that I'm hoping to achieve with the posts in the Scholarly Kitchen.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that, Randy, and thank you for all the good work that you've initiated. I know that you have a lot of experience working with various scholarly societies. Reflecting on your experience, are there any specific insights that you'd like to share regarding the role of these organizations in promoting mental health awareness and even support within academic communities?
Yeah, so I wasn't sure how my intent to prioritize mental health awareness for SSP would be received. I didn't know how to approach it from my position. I didn't have a blueprint. I knew it was important for personal reasons, but also because there's a natural tendency to think that we're the only ones that are living a particular experience, and it's just not true. When I declared this as my intent, literally each step, I guess literally and figuratively, each step that I took, it seemed like it was a dream. Like I was like in my head, but somebody else was in my ear. Like every single step, I had someone else in my ear that thanked me for whatever was to come. And, each step, I felt a little more confident that this was right. This was the right time. I'm in the right position to kick this off. I've had no regrets, and I'm really proud that I dove right in for the greater good. Just reflecting on my experience, I'd really recommend organizations to, because there's no blueprint, because it may seem unpopular, that's not the reason to not do it. Listen to your members and listen to your community. Don't shy away from a difficult conversation because it's difficult. Be like, well, I don't know, be like me, but I'm not afraid to have my foot in my mouth because the intent is still pure. I don't pretend to have all the answers. You shouldn't pretend to have all the answers, but make the pursuit of your mental health goals a collaborative experience. Make the journey a community journey. And, if you're not sure where to start, I always say, another benefit of the Mental Health Awareness Mondays post is a great place to see where, what people are experiencing, what the conversations are, and, have a discussion around one of the posts and see where that takes you.
Absolutely. No, thank you once again for sharing that, Randy. And looking ahead, what do you hope to see in terms of progress and initiatives addressing the mental health and DEAI within academia, say in the next 3 to 5 years?
When I first started these conversations, I was, paying attention to what they call triggers, the things that will cause a reaction. But I read that there's the opposite. I guess for everything, there's, one thing is the opposite, right? And there's glimmers of hope. So I'm hoping to see less triggers and more glimmers, more random acts of kindness, empathetic leadership and compassion, vulnerable strength, more resources, guidance, and support. That I'd love to see that we've actually been able to change the narrative. I want to see organizations compete for awards that celebrate the new and creative ways that they're supporting their staff, right? Like, oh, we did this and, this had this kind of change or impact. I'm hoping to see us as emotional and psychological and mental powerhouses that are ready to solve all the industry challenges because we don't have to struggle with the oppressive weight of the microaggressions or the verbal assaults. I guess to summarize it, like, I would love to see that we've replaced shame with celebration.
Thank you. That's so powerful, Randy. And I know that you work with a lot of students, perhaps even early career researchers. And so, again, from your perspective, what advice would you give early career researchers or even students or academics who might be struggling with mental health challenges, maybe, but don't have the courage to talk about it? At the same time, they're navigating all of these demands of their profession and other aspects of their life.
Yeah. I'd start off again with changing the shame to celebration. Like, don't be ashamed of your experience and what you're going through. Resist that urge to think that nobody understands. We're not alone. Whether the experiences are exactly the same, which I think is rare in a lot of circumstances, but there could be related experiences. There's people that can understand. Like, I may not know your depression, but I know depression. I know what it feels like to be low and how to, dig yourself out. So, don't think that nobody understands, because there are some very understanding people that are probably in your network already. Find out what accommodations and resources that you have that are available and take advantage of them. Don't not take advantage of the things that are there for you. They're there for you for a reason. Be self-aware and recharge your internal battery as you feel is necessary. SSP, we're so close to selling out. I'm excited about that. But that's also these big numbers and, potentially a lot of people in rooms. And, if your battery is in the red because you're uncomfortable being around those large numbers, after recession, get some fresh air, take a few steps, be mindful of where you are on the happy meter, what you need. Get the help that you need. Find a trusted person of influence, whether it's an HR rep or a supervisor, a mentor, a colleague, a family member, or even a hotline. Like, just don't be afraid to say, I need help. I need to talk to somebody. And I think one last thing that I tell early career researchers in particular, if you find yourself in the organizational culture that doesn't support your mental well-being, it says more about the character of that company or organization than it does about you. Be confident when you feel it's time to remove yourself from an unhealthy situation. It's okay to prioritize yourself.
Yeah. Wow. I love that, Randy. I think, so many good points that you've mentioned. Let's convert shame into celebration. It's okay to look at yourself, recharge your batteries, accept, some of the things. It starts with that acceptance. Reach out to folks. There's always help that is available in some, way or form. I just absolutely love that. And I know, Randy, that I've seen you obviously talk on many podiums. I know that, you're very passionate about this. And I'm so glad that we got this opportunity to talk just before one of the biggest events that we have. I know you're extremely busy, but I really appreciate the fact that you were able to, remove time for this, because it's such an important topic. And like I said, an honest confession from my side, Randy, I think I didn't realize this till I started to also engage myself. I mean, not exactly, researcher, but an author in many ways. And when I had so many things happening in life, including this other aspect, I just realized a small proportion of what so many folks might be going through. It could be early career researchers, it could be students with the pressure, it could be authors, it could be the journal editorial teams and the reviewers. And I guess, we just need to, take a step back sometimes, and we just need to, slow things down consciously. So, thank you. Thank you so much, Randy, for being so honest, for being so candid, and sharing such amazing insights.
Yeah, my pleasure, Nikesh. Thank you for the opportunity to speak on, these topics that are absolutely important to me. And I'm so grateful to be able to spend this time with you and answer your tough questions too. They weren't easy questions, but definitely important for us to talk through.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love the fact that it was a free-flowing conversation. You spoke, your mind, you spoke from your heart, Randy, and I can clearly see that you're very, very passionate about this. And, I'm going back with a certain amount of motivation as well. So, thank you once again for that.
My pleasure.
As we conclude today's insightful episode with Randy Townsend, we've gained valuable insights into the intersection of mental health and scholarly publishing. Randy's perspectives on the current landscape of mental health among researchers, coupled with his expertise in diversity, equity, accessibility, and inclusion initiatives, shed light on the pressing issues facing academia today. Please watch out for Randy's recent initiative, the Mental Health Awareness Series on the Scholarly Kitchen blog, which highlights the importance of breaking the stigma surrounding mental health issues and effective initiatives for promoting mental health awareness within academia and publishing communities. Randy, I want to thank you for sharing your expertise and insights with us today. We will look forward to your progress and new initiatives which address the issues of mental health and DEAI within academia. So listeners, stay tuned for some more engaging discussions on Insights XChange. Until then, take care and stay well.